Yeah, I think self-mastery is incredibly important. Just think, even when you were talking of like that idea of I must possess myself in order to give myself away. Because if there isn't a sort of like mastery in the midst of love, then it's do I actually have the ability to give myself to you, or is it just me like giving over to my emotions, and I don't actually have any control in it? I'm not choosing to love you.
We are made to make a gift of ourself to others. That is like what love is, like the full giving of oneself. I want to be a disciplined person, and I think with self-mastery, it involves being honest with myself and knowing the ways that I can grow and knowing the ways that I can deny myself.
The more I know the desires of my heart and what my soul is longing for, I'm able to give better to others because I understand how I give and how I love.
So self-mastery, it's something that I did not realize was a thing until, I don't know, probably a couple of years before I started dating you, probably until college. It was very, very changing in my life, is realizing that what we do in our life is very much based off habits, and that's where I think that self-mastery really comes into hand.
I think one thing that's been real strong with us was the self-mastery. I'm a big fan of just kind of being honest with myself and being honest with ourselves and with one another. I think in any relationship or any budding relationship or engagement, and even marriage, I've got my own ulterior motives, my own desires of acting this way or saying these words or these gifts or time spent, and a lot of it can turn to just things that are unhealthy and turn to sin. And I think in that I've really learned to be honest with myself and my intentions, knowing that in order to give the best self that I'm able to give to my wife.
And I think like areas in my own life that have helped in that process, I think it's just things like fasting or something like that. And even like, I mean, people do this for sports or any sort of thing of, in order to do well at this thing, I'm going to choose not to, or like diets or anything like that, a sort of self-mastery in that way, I guess. But there's this willingness to deny oneself in order for something that's a greater good. And I think like, if we believe at all that human love is a good, then we should be willing to like fast and give up things for it.
Being disciplined in just fasting, or disciplined in making sure I exercise every day for at least this amount of time. And in what ways can I deny myself for this person in little acts of love and big acts of love.
I tend to know the answers to my own problems, like as I bring them up to people, like I explain, well, this is why, this is why I know it is. And they're like, oh, why are you coming to me now? It's been a bit easier for me in my life in that sense of just being more self-aware. But there's still things that, you have to work on. I knew in dating and engagement who I was then was the person I was going to be bringing into marriage. And one thing we knew was that we didn't have to be perfect to enter into marriage. But there was an element of self-mastery for both of us. We had to master ourselves before we could give ourselves, just because you can't give what you don't have.
We're supposed to like look higher and call ourselves to a higher, more moral standard so that we can actually live freely.
I think like the word that comes to mind when I hear that is like freedom. Like what are we like calling true freedom? Of like the culture is telling us that like true freedom is like do whatever I want, go after whatever desire I have, but like having self-mastery is like what's gonna like unlock like the opportunity for true freedom for me to be able to like live in a way where I like deny myself in a healthy way to where I can like give fully of myself and like live in a way of freedom.
I think our culture is so broken. I think it's always been broken. And I think a lot of the downfall comes to the turning inward, the what can I do for myself? How can I get just instant gratification, and less of how can I give of myself? How can I better of myself? How can I use the gifts and talents and things that I have to help others, to give myself to others?
I recently got out of a relationship with my former boyfriend, and through that I realized that I was becoming more self-aware of who I was and he was too. Self-mastery kind of helped me put my like rational thinking and prayer over the really strong emotions that I was feeling, and it kind of helped guide me through that situation.
Just working on those aspects of our own personal interior lives, trying to make them better for ourselves, first of all, but then also to give to the other person in marriage as well.
Yeah, self-discipline, self-mastery is important for every aspect of our life. Sometimes people may look at the way that I choose to like live my life, or like specifically maybe in a relationship, may seem like maybe old-fashioned, like waiting to marriage, or allowing the man to open my door for me, like just beautiful, like maybe more traditional things. But I see a lot of beauty in an exchange of like gifts of self. Whatever I'm doing in one aspect of my life, I'm doing like my whole part of me, like the physical, the mental, like it's all in this part, it's all in this part, and it's all in this relationship.